Hi, Ginger with my thoughts for today. And today we'll be talking about the jobs report that just came out today. This is Friday. I'm recording this on Friday. You're seeing it on Monday. And, well, I guess the mainstream media, the traditional media, they don't have any choice. They're going to have to report the main numbers, which is that the expectation, the prediction was 134,000 new jobs created in April. And the number actually turned out to be 175,000 for now. Now, I always like to be fair and, clear all the caveats and everything. These figures, whenever these numbers come out, no matter who it is, no matter who the president is or whatever the economy is doing, these figures often a month later, a month from now, they'll be reporting what happened in May, but they'll also revise what happened in April. They'll get more complete figures. So that number could change. It could go up, it could go down. Now, actually, in the Biden administration, the numbers were always, this is one of the things that always irritated me, the number was always revised down. So sometimes you'd get a decent number and you would have all the talking heads, as again, in fairness, every administration does. The officials, the economic officials will come out and tout the good figures, and then when the next month comes along, they'll tout those figures if they're good. They'll make excuses if they're not, but they won't mention the previous month's figures if they were revised down. And during the Biden administration, they were revised down almost every month, several months, at least over a dozen months in a row, as I recall. And so we'll see what happens, and the number could be lower. The actual number, when we have more complete figures, they could be lower, and that's fair. It's a fair thing to say, but as of today, the number is being reported as 175,000. But there's also there is also job participation is up. I think it made a record high. 2 months in a row, the job number of people or percentage of people participating in the workforce, that went up, second month in a row. And the big number this is actually about jobs going down, but it's something we should all be happy about. Unless you're a liberal, you're not going to be happy about this. And this is a number of certain jobs that went down, and that number is, and I'll tell you why it's important, a couple of reasons, but the number of government employment, people working for the federal government, that went down 9,000 workers, 9,000 fewer, but also for the whole year, it was from January, 26,000. So there's been a loss of 26,000 government jobs. Now, why does that matter? Two reasons. Number one, getting back to the Biden administration, that was GDP. When they calculate GDP, and actually I'll digress a little bit, because we had inflation numbers and some that were reported. It was something like down 3.2%, and that was total GDP, the gross domestic product, that it was down, but core GDP was up about 3%. Now that's good. Now what is core GDP? That excludes government spending, which relates to what we're talking about today. In other words, that one of the reasons that the Biden administration that they were making the economy look better than it actually was because government spending is included in the GDP figures, in the total, not the core, which is the difference I'm making here. So they would say, GDP is really growing, but what it was, the government printed money. The government printed money and spent it. The Inflation Reduction Act, that turned out to be actually an inflation increasing act. But that was one of the reasons that the economy would seem better than it actually was, because when the government prints money, that's not generated from us, that doesn't come from us working and from more productivity and from an increase in wealth. It's just the government printing money. And same thing with when you're talking about job numbers, if it's the government hiring, again with this printed money, then it makes the employment numbers look better. But it's because the government, again, is hiring. It doesn't mean the private, the real economy, if you want to call it that, the private economy, that is doing better. So that's why it's good news now that we have that that lower GDP number was because the government was spending less, I assume. But what we know for sure, I just gave you the number, is that there are fewer government workers. And why that's good, because that means that the private economy, the private employment is growing as government employment goes down. So at the same time government employment is going down, the jobs, those of us who actually work for a living, that number is going up. So that is very good. That is a very good sign, and that's the number I wanted to emphasize today, precisely because the so-called legacy mainstream media, they have to report this higher, the employment numbers, and for all I know, they'll have some talking head, to say, some Democrat to say why it's not as good as it seems. That's okay, they do that, but I don't think they're going to mention the lower government employment, and that's why I said that would be bad. For if you're a liberal, you're not going to be happy with that news, because you want more government, and this is less government, and hopefully it will go down even more, less government. And then the 4.2% unemployment figure, that is steady from the month before, but that's low, 4.2. If you're less than 5%, that's generally considered good. I'm not happy with 4.2. I want it below 4.2, but I want it below 4. I want 0 if it's possible. But anyways, that's it. I just wanted to share that with everybody. Share these numbers. If you have any comments, your comments are welcome in the comment section below this video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. And by the way, I got a few new subscribers recently. Welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Can always use more, and thanks for stopping by. I'd love to see all of you again. Oh, that's the main thing. I'd love to see all of you again, and until I do see all of you again, bye.